All right, everybody. Well, our next amazing guest on Podcast Day 2018 is the one, the only, the woman, the myth, the legend, the host of Dare to Dream, Debbi Dachinger. Good morning, Debbie.
Good morning, Doll. Thanks for doing this. Super exciting, and I've been listening in. It's really
No
good.
problem. Well, hey, I brought up a little bit of the bio, so I thought we'd share that real fast before we dive in here, because I loved everything I was reading about you. It's been a very busy couple of days, but Debbie is a
And just an FYI, if I may, note the spelling in the first bullet is correct. The one up top is not, in case people want to find me.
My apology.
No worries. There's no E at the end. Happens all the time.
All righty, my apology. Debbie is a media visibility strategist who helps you create a fierce and unique presence through coaching to write your book, get your book to guaranteed international bestseller, and get scheduled on media interviews. Certified coach, she helps clients stop living in the shadows so they stand out and fulfill their purpose. Now in its 11th year, Debbie hosts the syndicated Dare to Dream podcast, is the author of 3 international bestsellers, has contributed 13 anthologies, has been interviewed on over 80 media outlets. She works with clients to provide full-service book, broadcast, and radio interviewing and radio podcast hosting solutions. She's a certified coach and globally known consultant who ensures that your presence is a cut above the rest. Well, I know you're going to be a cut above the rest this morning here on Podcast Day. Debbie, good morning once again.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning to you. I want you to know that I woke up dreaming about podcasting. I kid you not. That was the final dream I had. I was laughing my ass off, and I found the most amazing guest. I'm actually going to reach out to him. This is a true story. We were in the middle of this sort of television podcast situation, and it was going so well. I thought, I got to make this manifest. I have to make this happen. It was so good.
Good stuff. Awesome out there. Why don't you share with those that are either watching this live or view this on Facebook Live or listening to the recording later on? What's a little bit more about what Dare to Dream is about? Share a little bit about your show.
Yeah, well, it was actually born out of the fact that I was an actress and a singer for the majority of my life. And I started to have this transition, not in genders, but in career. And while I was transitioning, I didn't quite know where I was headed. I had to have a lot of faith because it was a scary time. I started doing voiceover work, right, for cartoons. I loved it. And I saw an ad, literally, back then it was radio and a physical station. I saw an ad for a job at a radio station. I thought, oh, that'll help get my voice out there. Let's do that. Got the job, did a small music gig, a little show on the station. And after a couple of months, because I try to make it really different and trivia about genres and stuff that captured my interest. And a few months later, the people who ran the station called me into the office and said, we really like what you're doing, and we're wondering, would you consider doing a full 1-hour show? And I said, yes, I totally would. I'm liking where this is going. I went home and I thought about it. And what really appealed to me was the fact that I had learned how to create dreams. And it was a pretty big deal for me because I had struggled with that before, hit and miss, hit and miss. And I had actually figured out this recipe, and it worked for everything I wanted to create, whether it was a Los Angeles marathon or going through whitewater rapids or learning with somebody how to shoot a gun for the hell of it, and all sorts of things, trips around the world. So I thought, wouldn't it be fun to call my show Dare to Dream and bring people on who have created really big, huge, amazing things in their life? And that's where it was born. I will say it has morphed over the years tremendously because, of course, I've grown. I've learned more really where my conversation is and the tribe I attract and the people I'm curious to talk to. But it essentially, Dare to Dream today, it is the #1 transformation conversation. It is the most spectacular people, and I think we really pull back the curtain, and they offer a wisdom that they don't other places, right? It's not the platitudes and all that, but it's the real deal. And so it's a show that I love because I feel like I show up for a masterclass that I get for free every week.
That's awesome. What's been your biggest surprise? Maybe your most recent, because 11 years is awesome. That's a long-running show and stuff like that. What would you say has been your biggest aha moment or biggest surprise, besides helping people achieve their dreams or helping them develop their dreams?
Scott, I have a lot of surprises, none of which I went into this for. I will say, first of all, the relationships I've developed. I have some amazing relationships with people out in the world that I look up to, and I can email them or call them when I want, and that's spectacular. I also, for instance, I'm producing an anthology right now, and I wanted endorsements for the book. And I got some amazing name people because, again, I've developed relationships with them over the many years. And I've really been there for them. That's the great thing when you really give, right? When it's your time, if there ever is one, it doesn't always work, give for take. But it just so happened that I was able to reach out to these people, and they were all a hell yes. They were beautiful endorsements. So that was amazing, and has been also for the books I've written. And I will say the way it's positioned me, I also didn't get into this particular business of podcasting to become an expert, but by virtue of what I do out in the world and how people have perceived me, they have enlisted me to become an expert. And I said, okay, I'll do that, be that. So that's opened up for me to do speaking gigs, to lead workshops. Most recently, I'll tell you what's really swirling in my world. I have some amazing people, again, that I really look up to who are very successful, who invited me to come and do collaborations with them and with their big, enormous tribes. So they want me to teach them how to write a book. They want me to teach them how to be interviewed, where the shows are, how to do it properly, how to treat the production and the hosts and all of that. And by the time they're done, they'll be interviewed on podcasts, radio, and media. So I have other programs like that, but I'm finding that more and more people are coming to me and wanting those things and wanting me to work with them and their people. It has just opened tremendous doors for me, and also to travel by virtue of doing all of that. And that really feeds my soul. This is what I'm here to do.
That's awesome. And that's one thing I was going to ask you. Is it a chicken or the egg kind of thing? Did I write the book before I do the show? Do I do the show, do the book? Do you deal with that a lot with people out there?
Yeah, and I don't think that there's any one thing. I mean, I did it the way I did it, and it seems so long ago now, before people really wrote books, but I wanted a place, I could tell people were writing to me and saying, you've changed, much like what JJ just shared, you've changed my life. Thank you for showing me how to dream. Or I want you to know what I just did that I never would have done before. I had a lot of men, by the way, who write to me. I have a big male tribe who follows me and connects with me. And people who said, I was working this job and I really didn't love it, but now I've left it and I'm going to China and I'm, getting a board of directors. I mean, they're doing big, huge things. So for me, how else could I teach how to dream? A book, right? So that was the next right thing for me. But I would say, follow the energy. I don't think there's any one particular way to do it. But if a book is inside of you, it's not inside of everyone, but if it's inside of you, do it, do it, do it. 85% of people who want to write a book do not ever do it. So it's important to get that out of you if that's in your wheelhouse.
And I think it's gotten easier to write a book these days than ever was with all the tools and the ghostwriters and using video to kind of hash out stories and go from there. What would you say has been the biggest surprise? You have a surprise story of one of your clients or one of your guests that's really just kind of sticks out?
I'm going to say something that I woke up to this morning. I woke up this morning to look at the news, and the first thing I saw after having that amazing dream was that Arthur Mitchell died. Mm-hmm. So maybe a lot of people don't know who that is. I grew up in New York. I grew up in Long Island. And when I grew up, my mom, music teacher, PhD in music and all that, one of her biggest things was to offer us culture, my brother and I. So we would always go to the city and see Broadway. We'd go into the city and see opera and ballet and dance. And I have a huge love of dance. When I first got into this business, I would think big. Like, if I could interview anybody, who might that be? And I always had a wish list. One of them was Arthur Mitchell. Arthur Mitchell's a very, very, very famous African-American choreographer. I mean, he's beautiful and has done beautiful works of art, led dance companies and so forth. So I reached out to his people, and often the answer with people like this is a yes. It's surprising who will say yes. So quite early on, I think I was at the Burbank radio station only about 2 years, and he came on. Of course, he was calling. I'm in LA. He's calling from New York. But we had this sumptuous 1-hour conversation. And today I'm so grateful because I look back and say, this amazing man has been such a contribution to the world of dance, has just passed away. And I have in my archives the 1 hour I spent with him where he talked about his entire career and what it's like to have created what he has and be who he is. So I feel very, very humbled and fortunate to have people like that and archives like that.
Yeah, that's definitely got to be very humble because you got a chance to kind of get to know them a little bit more in an hour. Because in an hour in a podcast interview, stuff back and forth, you learn a lot about people, right?
It's true. You really do. And, sometimes you can ask surprising questions. I kind of like to do that off the cuff sometimes. And I've done things like, what is the most, the biggest thing that's happened to you in your life that literally changed the trajectory of your life? And I found the times that I've been bold enough to ask that to someone, because energetically it feels right, there's always this pause. I think the person I'm asking knows, like, okay, I think I'm going to go deep here. So they kind of brace themselves, and then they are willing to be very transparent. I have found my audience loves these moments because it levels the playing field. It really brings forth the humanity in everybody, and it's riveting sometimes to find out what's actually happened in somebody's life and how they dealt with it and how they came out the other side. It's pretty transformational.
Yeah, that's awesome. I totally agree. Going off the cuff and off script you find some great stuff versus those that have their pre-programmed answers in their head and stuff. What would be your biggest advice to new podcasters looking to get into this genre?
Yeah, well, you have to really want it because it is work, right? It also is a shit ton of fun. And I would say, you have to sort of have some strategy. Being a little bit of coached. Being coached is a very good idea. So I don't know how anyone just jumps into stuff because there's so much to understand. And rather than having years of mistakes and figuring it out, just get coached from the get-go. So you're right there, you're doing well out of the gate. And, know strategically, like what kind of conversation, have a good name for your show so the people who would listen to it understand what your show's about. Understand, are you going to do the show alone? Do you want to have a co-host? Do you want to have people on? Do you want to mix it up? Do you want to do contests? There's so many ways to do this. And plus your vibe. I mean, are you funny? Are you entertaining? Are you political? Are you somebody who's very polarizing? Are you very deep and serious? You can honor all parts of your personality, but just kind of know where you're going, be yourself, and enjoy the ride, because I can promise you wherever you start out, as you keep doing it, you will consistently get better and better and better. And if you have stick-to-itiveness, I promise it changes your life. You've heard it before. You heard it from Doug. You heard it from JJ. Forgive me, that's who I woke up to hear. I don't know who else was on. But I'll say what they said I find in my life as well to be completely true. I started it for me and for my people, and it became so much bigger than I ever anticipated in the best possible way. So again, like the book, if it's in your wheelhouse, you gotta do it. You gotta express it out in the world. And if it's not in your wheelhouse, then support us, right? If you're listening, subscribe. If you're listening to our shows, give us a 5-star review. Let other people know so they want to join us too. And then we'll relish the fact that you're along for the ride and give us feedback. I know I love feedback. So let us know, because we'll read your stuff and we can sometimes tweak things if it makes sense on our end so that you have an even better version of the show.
Mm-hmm. One of the best things I can say is that as a review I got from somebody on one of my early episodes, like, oh, I really need to take this a little bit more serious and up my game versus what I was doing. And I think a lot of people, you said a great thing. If you're get coachable or be coachable at the beginning, because there's a lot of people, I know I've learned more from other podcasters on things to avoid or mistakes that they made that helped me avoid mistakes early on. All right. What's been, and you do that with everything you do with your production and your promotion, stuff like that. I'm willing to bet being coachable is one of the most important things when you're helping entrepreneurs looking to launch their product or the show, right, Debbie?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Without a doubt. You know, I attract sometimes the most amazing clients. I mean, I'm humbled by them, but they're often a hell yeah kind of client. Like they're hungry, they have a modicum of success, sometimes a lot of success, and they're just really ready for the next piece, but they don't know how to get there. And so they're coming on and saying, okay, I'm going to follow this suggestion and that suggestion. And the good news is they start to see really good results. I mean, the same is absolutely true for being coachable for a podcast, for hosting anything. And I've helped a lot of people get there as well. And I'll say, hey, most of us, I think, also get coaching. I think that's really important. I'm in a one-year program myself, and I have a couple other people helping me in other areas. I mean, I firmly believe in growing. So I keep getting better and able to serve people in even better ways. I like showing up and I like learning. So if other people do too, it's a total win-win. But yeah, I think being coached is pretty huge. And I will say, even when I started doing this, I had a lot of cojones. I reached out when I was on radio, I mean, barely a year. I was a total baby. And I reached out to the producer of Oprah Winfrey's radio. Once upon a time, she and Gail had their own radio station. I don't know that they still do, but they had their own radio shows. So I wrote right to her producer and said, here's a copy of my show. Would you listen to it and give me feedback? I found the guy who created and has since retired from Westwood One. And I wrote to him, same thing. And God, they were so nice, these guys. They both did it. They listened to my show and they gave me the most amazing feedback that I still use today. The first guy, Oprah Winfrey's producer, John, wrote back to me and said, you know, this is a great job, but I gotta say, you're really featuring your guests. But why people tune in, why they keep listening, is because of you. You need to learn how to feature yourself much more and be at the forefront of your own show. Let your personality shine. You're much bigger than your guests, no matter what you think. And you are the consistent factor in all your shows. So that completely changed how I did it. Right from the get-go, I just chat for at least 5 minutes at the top of every hour. I make sure in the conversation, I pull back the curtain on myself, my imperfect self, and talk about everything. And then the fellow from Ron from Westwood One said to me, you know, it'd be really nice at the end of every show, let us know who you're going to feature next. What's the next show about? Because guess what? Stays in the listener's mind, and then they want to tune into the next show. So I started implementing that. So every little piece they gave me, I was so coachable. I was so hungry. I implemented, and then I saw really great results. And I'll say the one thing akin to what you were talking about with your listener writing to you, I had a listener pretty early on. I had a woman on who did an amazing, she had a product that everybody wanted, took down the servers, and I got so much feedback from people over and over saying, hey, you gave out her website once. I couldn't even write it down. Could you give it out a couple more times? So I changed the way I do that too for people. When we come back after an ad break and I say their name and what they do, I'll give out their website again.
Good stuff, Deb. What's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
Yeah, go to my website. It's my name, DebbiDachinger.com. There's also a contact there. Of course, Dare to Dream. My show is archived there, syndicated in a lot of stations. You can also go to iTunes and let me know how you're doing and the dreams you're creating.
That's awesome. Amy Schubert gives a lot of heart out on Facebook this morning. Got fans all over loving you.
Thank you. Oh, that's right. Right on, everybody. Good morning. That's really nice to hear, and I love you right back.
Good stuff. Well, hey, Debbie, thank you so much for joining us on International Podcast Day. I know you've got a great and amazing day ahead of you. Have a ton of fun, all right?
Thanks, Scott. You're amazing.
Thank you. You too, dear. We'll talk to you later.